Hey everyone, welcome to Cookery Creations. My name is Gareth and this is my little corner of the internet, playing with my food. Today I'm going to do for you a lamb shank curry. Now, I absolutely love this one. I really don't know where you would say it is from. I think there's elements of a bit of Indonesia in there. There's some Indian flavours in there. It's really, really good, but it's that bit that hits my palate just perfectly. I love these curries where there's a little bit of sourness to it. And we're going to do that today. So we're going to start really, really quickly with the lamb shanks. All you need to do, get any covering off them, etc. And then just loads of salt and pepper. Just rub it in, get it nice and seasoned. And then after that, we can just take it straight over to the hob and get the outside seared off. Okay, so I've got my pan all hot. Now I'm using like a hob-proof casserole dish because I want to cook the whole thing in one. So if you've got one, great. If you don't, you can sear these off in like a normal frying pan, no problems. So just pop in about 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil and then whack your lamb shanks in. Probably going to have to do this in stages, but we're just going to sear the outside until it's nicely sort of browned off. So all you're looking for is this nice kind of crispiness on all sides. So get it nice and brown and then just give them a little turn. Like that, until everything looks sort of nicely crisped up. Okay, once they're all kind of crisped up, nicely sealed, just pop them onto a plate and leave them there for a bit while we prep the rest of it. Awesome. Okay, so now quite simply, we're just going to prepare some little base ingredients for it. So you're going to need 2 onions, and you're not really going to need to chop these in any particular way, because we're going to make this quite a nice smooth sauce. So we are going to blitz it down at the end. So essentially just dice up 2 onions, however you prefer to do it. Okay, so once the onions all chopped up and the tears are kind of gone away a little bit, grab yourself 3 cloves of garlic. And then you just, again, don't worry about how you chop them up. Just chop them, about the same as you did the onion. It's roughly as you did that. Brilliant. So that's my onion and garlic done. Last bit for over here, ginger. So you want about 1 inch of ginger. I'm using, again, this kind of lazy stuff out of a jar. The good bit with this and this recipe is because I want the sourness to it. I want that slight edge to it. These are great because they come in vinegar to keep them preserved. That just adds that little bit extra to it. So you don't need to worry about that flavour. So grab yourself about what would be 1 inch and then again, just roughly chop that up. There we go. So now we've got the ingredients. We can just head over to the hob and the rest of it is just putting it all together over there. So now we're just going to make the base of that curry. And we've got kind of like all that seared kind of bits of meat still at the bottom of the pan. That's great. So if you're doing this not in one of these, you are just frying it in a pan, try and do this bit in the same pan. And then you just get all of that flavour. It will bring it all up. So what you're going to add, probably another 2 tablespoons vegetable oil. Flick that on. And then add your onions in. So on a low-ish heat, we're just going to sweat those onions down for about 10 minutes. We're going to slightly longer than I would normally. I want a slight browning to it, but not too much. So I can pop my lid on, get those sweating down. So that's great. The onions now nicely wilted down and they've got a slight kind of browning to them. They've picked up, you'll see if you stir them, they've picked up all of that kind of like lovely seared stuff from the bottom. So now we're just going to add in that ginger and garlic. We're probably going to cook that just for 2 minutes. You don't want to overdo it because the last thing you want is those burnt. Like burnt onions, if they get slightly caught on the edge, not a problem. You get that nice sweetness. Burnt garlic, horribly bitter. So only give them about 2 minutes. Just stir them in on nice low heat. Okay, so that's the real base done. We can pop that off. And now we're going to add in all those spices. They're going to make this taste so, so good. We're going to start with fenugreek. I love this stuff. It took me ages to find it. And then I did like a recipe kind of cookery school, it's like on Indian street food. and we used fenugreek in it. I was like, that's the flavour I've been looking for forever. It's gorgeous stuff. So we're going to put in 4 teaspoons of ground fenugreek. You want a fair amount in here because we are talking about 4 whole lamb shanks. It's not a small meal. So you've got 4 of those in. And then we're going to add in some of the other more classic spices. So we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of coriander, like so. Then 2 teaspoons of cumin. And I know I'm using the same teaspoon, but these are all flavours that work so well together. It doesn't matter if a little bit gets into the other one. Now we're just going to add a little bit of heat. So we're going to add in, I'll say a little bit, 2 teaspoons of chilli powder. Perfect. Now, some extras that we don't want just quite that much flavour. So 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. It's going to give it a real nice warmth. And then 1 teaspoon of turmeric. Never want to overdo the turmeric for me, because it can be quite potent. So now we've got that done, we're just going to keep that frying off just for 30 seconds or so, just until all those fragrances kind of like pop out and you get this kind of brought together stuff at the bottom. It sticks to all the onions, kind of really browns them off. Okay, so now those are browned off and all of those fragrances are kind of hitting the air. You want to pop in all your wet ingredients. So we're going to put in 2 tins, oh, if they come out, of plum tomatoes. You can use chopped tomatoes. Try and use some good ones though, because flavour's flavour, you know. Wherever it comes from can only make it better. And then we're going to add in 400 ml of beef stock, like so. That should calm down the noise. And then, kind of, it's not really a secret ingredient, but the bit that adds something a bit different to this, I'm going to use tamarind. So we're going to use tamarind paste. I'm going to use a tablespoon of this. A teaspoon probably wouldn't taste it. So you want a whole tablespoon of tamarind paste in there. Really strong flavour, really kind of sour. Absolutely love the stuff. So get all that done. And then it's just a case of mixing it through. And we're going to bring that up to the boil, just so we get like to a nice little simmer. Brilliant. So now that's up to a nice little bubble, we can pop those lamb shanks back in. Now, nice, and just sit them in nicely. And there we go. Just give them a little nestle. Make sure they almost covered. There we go. It's lovely. Once that's done, you can either, if you can't settle them in, just a little bit more boiling water, just to bring it to just the top level of those lamb shanks, and it will be perfect. Now it's just a case of lid on, and you can either leave that on the hob, it's like bubbling away, really low simmer for 3 hours, or the way I always do it, because it's just so vastly and easily repeatable, is oven 160 degrees C, lid on, a good casserole dish, again 3 hours. So let's pop that in. Oh. And what we'll do now is just give it an hour and a half, come in, turn them over, give it another hour and a half, and we're almost there. Okay, so we're halfway through now, just going to turn them over, and what you're looking for is you don't want it to reduce too much at this point. That will sort of come later, it will get down a bit more and more. So if it looks like yours is reduced too much, I mean, you can see on this one, there's hardly any, but every kind of saucepan is slightly different. You know, some let out a little more than others. So just a little bit of top up with water, just to get it close to the top, but you don't need to go the whole way over. So we'll just turn them over, stick them back in for another hour and a half, and we're good to go. Lovely. Oh, that's heavy. So now it's had its 3 hours, that lamb should be really tender, and it looks really, really nice. Just give it a little poke. Yeah, straight away you can tell. Perfect. So all we got to do now is lift those lamb shanks out. We're going to rest them for a little bit. Slightly different to how you normally make stuff, but you kind of, it's like roast lamb, isn't it? You want to be gentle with it. So we're going to pop those onto a board, being very careful because they are falling apart. And now for that sauce. So you could quite easily just use the sauce as is, pour it over the top, especially if you use chopped tomatoes, because like the plum ones hold a lot more shape. But you could just, done, you know, curry's done. But I want it to look a bit more silky, a bit nicer, so I'm going to blitz it. Now this is where I get utterly covered, but we'll give it a go. And it just, to me, just makes it so much nicer. Just visually makes it really good. And there we go, that is beautifully thick now. It's got that real perfect kind of consistency that we want. Yeah, absolutely lovely. So we're just going to add in a few more things, a little bit more decadence. So some natural yogurt, just Greek yogurt. We're going to put about 4 tablespoons in there, and we'll give it another little blitz up. 3, 4. And that should just add just that little bit extra kind of lusciousness to it. So we'll give that a quick whiz around. And that's lightened it up a bit. And adding that little bit of extra yogurt just kind of gives it that little bit more kind of lusciousness to it, if that makes sense. So now, finishing it off, good handful of fresh coriander. Just pop that in. Give it a good old mix around, and that's your sauce done. All you got to do then, plate it up. So serving this, really simple. Just grab yourself a lamb shank very carefully, pop that down there, and then baste over a bit of that lovely sauce. So there we go. To me, that is wonderful. As a curry, that's perfect. It's got that elements of sourness that I love so much with it. And, you know, served with some rice, some naan breads, absolutely beautiful. And if it's like not hot enough for you, just when you're getting towards the end there, you know, while you're blitzing it, just add a bit more chili powder, something like that, something to bring it up to the level you want. But for me, where it is right now is about right. I like a really, really hot curry, but I also do like other people to eat my food. And this one seems to be about right for kind of pretty much most people's palate. So there you go. I love this. I hope you do too. So I hope you give it a go. I hope you enjoy it. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.